Very good afternoon to you, our esteemed viewers. My name is Douglas Drekonen. Welcome back to this week's edition of the Community Show. This week's edition of the Community Show, we are going to be commemorating World Population Day, which is tomorrow, the 11th of July. So tonight's conversation, the topic is rising population, effects on natural resources, climate, and planet overall. So joining me to discuss tonight's very interesting conversation is a panel of very experienced lady and gentlemen on grounds of climate change and environmental conversation. So quickly, I'm going to introduce them, and then they will have time to maybe come and say one or two, and we start tonight's conversation. So joining us tonight, we are joined by a gentleman called Innocent Kiza. Innocent Kiza is an accomplished environmental or climate change journalist with extensive experience in research, reporting, and data journalism. He was recognized by a number of esteemed organizations such as InfoNile, Africa Center for Media Excellence, Earth Journalism Network, Aga Khan University, and is currently working with Rwenzori Daily, Uganda Tribune, and UBC Ngea FM. Thank you very much, Kiza, for honoring my invitation to join us to discuss tonight's topic. You're most welcome. Right next to Kiza, we have Mr. Bwayo Benedicto. Bwayo Benedicto is a green growth, climate change, and environmental sustainability expert. Thank you very much, Mr. Bwayo Benedicto, for honoring our invitation and joining us. And then last but not least, we're joined by a lady. She's a nursing officer by the name Nabuduya Lilian. So right now, I'm just going to give each of you a few seconds to kindly unmute, turn on your camera, and say hello to the viewers, and we start tonight's conversation. I'll begin with the lady, Mrs. Lilian. Lilian, kindly unmute, turn on the video, and introduce yourself.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. I'm very happy to join you people on such a platform. I'm very honored. And as you join us too, the effects, the rising population, our discussion, I'm very grateful. We thank the Lord for today and we bless his name. Yeah,
Amen.
We are happy that you'll hear from us.
Thank you, Lillian. And we're very happy that you know the Lord. And with God at our behest, definitely our environment needs, we must put it at God's hands. Thank you. Let's have Innocent Kiza. Kiza, kindly unmute and introduce yourself.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm glad to join you here. Let me hope everyone is fine and you're doing well. Yeah, let the Almighty God lead us in this liberation as we discuss issues concerning the climate and the environment. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. World Population Day, something that we are going to discuss tonight. Thank you. Last but not least, let's have Mr. Bwayo Benedicto kindly unmute and say hello to the viewers. Then we start tonight's conversation.
Yes. Good afternoon, viewers. Benedicto Bwayo is my name, and I work in areas of green growth, climate change, and environmental sustainability. So Bwayo Benedicto is my name, and I work in areas of green growth, climate change, and environmental sustainability. And I'm happy to join this discussion pertaining environment, population, and climate change. I hope we shall have fruitful discussions where we can all learn, benefit, and motivate each other. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bwayo, I'll just begin with you there. And you give us a very wonderful introduction, and you tell us that you work with green growth and you're in the areas of environment and climate change. You know that tomorrow, the 11th of July, we are commemorating World Population Day. And current statistics show that the world's population is at 8 billion. And it is projected that by 2050, the world's current population is going to go up to 9.7 billion. That is quite a huge number. Currently, at the moment, there are already devastating effects of the huge populations on the environment. So kindly, Mr. Bwayo Benedicto, contextualize for us tonight's debate, and in what areas do you think we should possibly put this conversation and as we commemorate the World Population Day? Mr. Bwayo.
Okay, thank you very much, moderator. We are happy that we are commemorating the day, and we are all together in this. We are currently facing terrible changes in the environment, and one of the key driving factors being population. And if we don't handle the issue of population and how it impacts on the natural resources and the environment in general, we're facing a terrible challenge in the future, of which, when we talk of sustainability, we have to meet the food demands of these populations. We have to meet their livelihoods, because when you look at population and the environment or climate, we are seeing that is one of the driving factors, whereby I look at us driving our discussion in the areas of how the population is impacting on environment or climate, and then the strategies on how to reduce or curb such. So according to me, I would look at the increased pressure to the environment and the livelihoods, because most people get their livelihoods from the environment, and we need to all look at this economically, because we have economic contributions. Then we have also pressures. We have also disasters coming up, and we have also a debt, the country's debt, in case of Uganda, increasing because of the population, because the population needs to meet its demands economically. We need food security, we need nutrition, we need incomes, social services, and all these factors are driving towards degradation, population, pollution, and the depletion of resources that even our future needs to depend on. So we have a number of factors to discuss, but all of them are along economic, social, and livelihoods. So according to me, I would look at that as the center of discussion. But all them, the population is driving it, because there is need for food security, nutrition, incomes. All these factors are under threat. So we need to discuss them together as a team. Thank you, Drake. That's my quick analysis.
All right, thank you very much. That analysis has quite been most certainly spot on. And right from there, I'll invite in Miss Lillian. Miss Lillian, when we listen to the submission of my brother Boya Benedicto, he highlights the possible factors that are leading to the population and the impact that it's going to have on the environment. But before we go into all the nitty-gritties that we have, we need to set a pace for tonight's conversation. Maybe as you give your introductory remark as well, I want you to help us ascertain the factors that are leading to the current world increasing population.
Okay, thank you very much, moderator. I'll begin with, actually, I will not speak what he has already spoken, because he has exhausted it, and yes, we comprehend it, we appreciate it. So I'll go directly to what I think, to the factors that are causing the rising population, or what I think is causing, part of that is causing the rising population. Is that okay? So the factors, as a nursing officer, first of all, I'll begin with the fertility rate, which is causing the rising population, whereby we are having a lot of children being born, a lot of people being born all over the world, leading due to the cause of people not accepting maybe the contraceptives we are giving them, people not taking note of the family plannings we're giving them. Then others are really ignorant about the family planning, about how to plan for the children they need to have. Then also the life expectancy, whereby we have less deaths right now. If you take a look at the years 1990, whereby we had to lose a lot of children due to the no technology, no medicines, no qualified people by then or years ago. By right now, we are not losing many children or many mothers or many people in hospitals due to the increased technologies leading to the high population, because we are having a number of people, a number of species being born every day. And that also leads to the high population and the rising population all over. Then we have the increased climate change, whereby everything is becoming comfortable because we have the technology that makes everything comfortable, whereby when you need such and such environment, you can use anything to make yourself comfortable. We are not losing a lot of lives still. That all comes to the mortality, the fertility, the motility rate. Then part of the lack of female education, whereby females, if we females are really educated, I think it will take time for us to get into marriages and get married to have the children, because I think 80% of the giving birth is on the mothers and it's on the females. So if our females are really not getting educated like the rural areas, whereby females take time and stop on lower levels of classes and they prepare marriages at young ages. By the time she begins giving birth at the age of 14, 12, 13, so by the time she is in her menopause, she will be having a number of children, which will make the population rise a bit. So if as the females, we are being educated, it takes a lot of time in school, whereby by the age of 25, 26, 27, you're finishing school, and it will help us have planned marriages, planned children, healthier children, and good families. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, Lillian. I would still like to stick with you. You highlight factors that are leading to the increase in the world population. But now let's first bring this conversation back home here in Uganda. You realize that we are having very high we have very high maternity deaths that we are facing, and at the same time, we also we are also realizing that people nowadays, at the same time, the life expectancy has increased from 55 to 65. So Lillian, I would like you to first kindly address this. How does people having very high maternity rates not affect the increasing population? Maybe for the viewers out there, they'd like to understand. You mentioned things like fertility rates, life expectancy, yet we realize in Uganda, the life expectancy is at 65, and there are many factors that are letting people die every day, but then the population is still rising. Lillian, then I will come to my brother.
Okay, yes, we are having the high mortality rate in our country. We are losing people. I don't want to use the word dying, but we are losing loved ones daily. But take a look at villages whereby we are not noting the people who are giving birth every day, because I don't think the government is noting. We have mothers who are giving birth from villages whom we don't know about. They don't go to hospitals. We don't register them. So these are the mothers whereby we are having a high rate. They are giving birth at a high rate because they are not educated. They don't know about the family planning, and they are giving birth every day. But these people are giving birth from their homes. We do not record them. This is the high population I am talking about. It affects the rural areas, and the fertility rate I'm talking about is the generation is changing, whereby if a person is not giving birth, she has an option of going and having her eggs, and the man will also have his, and they will connect and give birth to that. But about yes, we are having the high mortality rate, but in the cases whereby we are not registering the kids or the children that are being born down there, deep down in our own country, in our motherland, whereby they are not registered, it's also high. The ones we are recording are these ones we have seen and registered. But what of the people we are not seeing, all the mothers who are giving birth from their homes that we are not seeing, all the places, the deep places we don't know about?
All right. Thank you very much, my sister Lillian, for clearly highlighting out that you see here in Uganda we have people who are giving birth down there in the villages, and we are not recording them, and this still tantamount to the high population growth. That is particularly true, and I think Uganda is not the only country that is being affected by such. I think it runs across the continent. We as particularly in the sub-Saharan Africa. Anyway, right now, let me invite my brother, Innocent Kiza. Innocent Kiza, when you listen to the submissions of Mr. Boyo Benedicto and Lillian, you get the view that from Mr. Benedicto's submission, he clearly contextualizes for us this debate. And Ms. Lillian gives us the factors that are leading to the high population growth. Now, I want us now to bring this conversation down to resource consumption. Now, when we talk about resource consumption, we know that, my simple knowledge of economics tells me that when there is when there is low supply, definitely there is high demand. And when there is high demand, at times, when there is low supply, usually there is high demand. And at the moment, the land mass on Earth doesn't increase any further. And we know that resources at the moment are not increasing, but rather depleting. So, Innocent Kiza, when you unmute your mic, maybe as you give your introductory remark, I want us to focus on the impact that the high population growth is having on resources as we then relate it to the aspect of climate change. Kiza.
Okay, I see. First of all, you know, when there's high demand, when the population is growing daily, of course, there is be high demand on resources. A growing population require more resources such as food, water, energy, and materials for construction or infrastructure. And of course, custom goods also leading to increasing consumption, like in case whereby the population, when the population increases, there will be high demand of basic needs, which have custom goods, and at the end of the day, there will be strain on natural resources. And then, when we look about the freshwater resources, the growing population require more water for drinking, domestic use, sanitation, agriculture, industry, and all this, it can lead to over exploitation and the depletion of fresh water resource, because when the population is increasing in an area, you find that water sources become more demanded. You find that water, sometimes the other part will be with water and the other part will not be with water. At the end of the day, there will be competition on the resources, especially on the freshwater resources. And the agriculture, it also will need water. Industries will also need water. People will need water for domestic use on daily basis. At the end of the day, it's where you will find that there's scarcity of water in a certain area, but not because that there's no water, but because the population is too much on that freshwater resource. Then, of course, due to industrialization and the demand for the land, you will find that there will be a rate in deforestation and the habitat loss. You find that people, since they will need where to stay and where to live comfortably, they will encroach on the protected areas, and which is happening in my area in Kasese, in Hivundi Vujo, whereby Semliki National Park is being being encroached on. Queen Elizabeth National Park is being encroached on. At the end of the day, it is the results of the increasing population on the resources. And there's a need of population result in development, which will lead to habitat loss, then biodiversity decline, and the disruption of ecosystem when the population is growing or is increasing rapidly. Of course, when you look at the area, when they look at the area of fisheries, you will see that there will be exploitation on fisheries, increasing demand for seafood, and the protein sources can lead also to overfishing as the population increases. And you'll find that there's a disruption on marine ecosystem and impacting the livelihoods on the coastal climate, especially on the on people who are living near people who are living near the lakes and the lakes, especially the community now in Kahendero, community in Hamukungu, in Katunguru, those who are living near Lake Edward and Lake George, you find that there is this practice of overfishing because there is high demand of seafood, and this is the only alternative. Fishing as the economic activity, it is the only alternative these people they survive on. So when the population increases, of course, overexploitation area. When I look at the area of mineral extraction, like the increasing mineral extraction, the rising population drives to high demand for minerals and metal used in construction, like in the industry, in industrial development and the industrial development and infrastructure. You find that when the population is too much, there will be a high demand, and at the end of the day, they will increase the mineral extraction in that area, high demand in infrastructure, high demand in technology and custom product leading to increasing mining activities and potential environmental degradation in the area. Yeah, you find that in the area where the population is increasing, of course, all the resources around will be will feel the pressure of the population. I submit, sir. Hello.
Thank you very much, my brother Innocent. But allow me to stick with you briefly. You highlight you highlight the impact that the increasing population has on resources, and kindly in a minute or so, give us the consequences this has on the depletion of the available resources. You mentioned in your submission that when the population is in the parts of the country where you are, the increasing population has possibly led to depletion of seafood, and the little that there is, people are scrambling for it. Now, kindly create for us a bigger picture, because it looks like the part of the country that you are is possibly facing that. How big is the problem at the moment with the increasing population? In terms of
definitely in terms of
in terms of the consequences of resource depletion.
Yeah, because for example, let me give you the community living near the water bodies. In Hamukungu, when you go to Hamukungu, Lake Katwe, Kavatoro Town Council, Hamukungu, and Katunguru, the main activity there, it is fishing. And due to increasing population, people they have engaged into illegal kind of fishing. However, due to this, many people have been arrested. And when you look down, what is the main cause of this? It is because people, they are looking for what to eat. They are looking for what to eat to survive. To survive. And the population implication, it is the resources is not increasing, but the population is increasing. At the end of the day, each person will look for the alternative to survive. So when you look at the people living near the protected areas, that Queen Elizabeth National Park, and in the sides of Wundiwujo, that is the Semliki National Park, you find that the increasing population is forcing the communities around to encroach on the protected area, which is illegally, which is not right. At the end of the day, there is increasing wild animal conflict, what we call problem animal, because people have encroached on these protected areas now, and also the animals, they also want to fill their environment. You find that there have been animal problem, animal killing people, animal eating people's crops. At the end of the day, the people are the one being affected. But what causes this? It is because of the increasing population. The resources are constant, but the number of people to benefit or to share these resources are increasing daily. Thank you, sir. Hello.
Thank you. Thank you. You say the population is the population is increasing and the resources are, the supply is constant. So definitely that shows that there is need, and there is need for the solution that you possibly offer later on. But let me get to my brother, Bayo Benedicto. Bayo Benedicto, you are an expert in climate change and environmental sustainability. When you listen to the submission of my brother Innocent Kiza, he submits that, you see, the resources that we have at the moment are not increasing, but rather being depleted. And you know that with increase in human population, definitely that means there's going to be excessive exploitation of these resources, and the excessive exploitation of these resources leads to environmental impact such as climate change. Now, how does high population growth lead to green gas emissions and climate change? Bayo Benedicto.
Yes, thank you very much. I hope I'm still loud and clear.
Oh, yes, you're audible.
Okay. Whenever population increases, like the case for Uganda and sub-Saharan Africa, we have a lot of pressure built on or exerted on resources, especially the natural resources. Like earlier on, I talked of pressure on natural resources. As this population grows, it will need to meet its food and nutrition security, whereby we shall need to have more food and food with enough nutrients. Then also incomes will need to increase to meet the basic needs of this population. We shall also see social services need and use increasing in the areas of education, health, and others. But all in all, we shall see a lot of pressure on exploitation or use of these resources. When pressure is exerted on these resources, at the end of the day, we shall get some of these problems or challenges related to environment. One of them is pollution related to handling of waste. We have seen municipalities, cities, and towns, even homes, struggling with the handling and managing of waste. So waste, when the population increases, we shall have waste dumped in the environment, which will give risk to diseases and a lot of funds to handle, and pollution. So we shall have a number of challenges related to waste handling and management as a result of population. Then also we shall see increase in occurrence of disasters, like the case of Western Rwenzori area and Elgon region, Bale, the Elgon region in general. We have seen disasters occurring. The interval at which they are occurring has reduced currently. They are occurring frequently. Why? Because the population has increased in these areas, and there is a need to grow more food to meet the food demands of this population. So people are forced to cultivate in high altitudes or high areas, which were area alone were left for were uncultivated. They had the tree cover, but currently you find that all these areas have been depleted, the trees have been cut down, people are cultivating, they are growing crops there, destabilizing the land there, of which now when you receive slightly more rain than expected, we have landslides, mudslides, and general destruction, blockages of the rivers where the river is flowing because there is erosion. There are so many challenges within these highlands. And in the end, we shall see that it is population is a driving factor, which is the case, and the effects are evidenced currently in eastern and parts of western. So also there is a rampant giving away of catchment areas like wetlands, swamps, to development, for agriculture, for industries. We have seen government at the center of allocating such protected areas that needed to sieve our water, to handle waste, but they have been used for industrialization and agriculture, which poses a risk. And all these are driven by the population, which demands medicines, demands products for use at home, in daily life. So the population drives so many factors. Also, we are seeing the desertification getting closer. We are not very far away from Karamoja, but Karamoja's effects are getting closer, like the areas around the Bulambuli. Yes. So like areas of Bulambuli, Kapchorwa, they are getting the effects of the desert, and very soon we shall have it in Mbale and other areas. Also, we are seeing land fragmentation also increasing unsustainable use of these resources, where also landslides are increasing. Deforestation is also related. Conflict with the UWA is Uganda Wildlife Authority protecting some areas around the highlands. So we have a number of effects or impacts that the population is pressing on the resources, leading to unsustainable use, the degradation, pollution, depletion, high costs involved, also depression on infrastructure like roads. Roads, that means if the population has grown, we shall need more products or more goods coming in. So the roads, constructing roads and repairing them, the cost will double, and it will be done more regularly because more trucks are increasing the running on the roads. Also, with the high population and the improved incomes, we shall have more cars, more machines, more industries polluting the environment. And yet we are talking of sustainability. We have the future to cater for. The future generation needs to get the environment better than we found it. So we need to work double than our greater fathers did, because for them it was better, but currently it is worse. And the population is increasing, that means it's worsening. If we don't think of sustainable use and management of resources, the future is compromised. So, but there are so many approaches, maybe we shall discuss them later, of how we can reverse this trend, especially in a sustainable terms. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Boy Benedicto. You clearly bring out how high population growth is contributing to the green gas emissions and climate change. And you highlight effects such as poor waste management, pollution, deforestation, among others. That was a very powerful and wonderful submission. At the moment, we have been joined by Mr. Joel Wako. Mr. Joel Wako is a programs development officer with Albertine Reef Conservation Society, a member of a program on ecosystem change and society under Decolonizing Conservation Working Group, an advocate of convivial conservation. That's quite an interesting CD there, Mr. Joel Wako. And your work is in line of conservation. And today as we commemorate World Population Day, which is tomorrow, the 11th of July. And my question to you is, maybe as you unmute, you introduce yourself and give us your introductory remark. When you listen to the submissions of my brother, Mr. Benedicto, he tells us how population growth continues to contribute to greenhouse gas emissions. Now, my question to you is, what are the projected impacts of larger population on global temperature rise, sea level rise, and extreme weather events, among others? Mr. Joel Wako, please unmute and make your submission, brother.
Good morning. Good morning to you all. Once again, my name is Joel Wako. Just as you said, Douglas, just as you said it, I work with the Albertine Rift Conservation Society. It's a regional organization working in Rwanda and Uganda. It was registered in the UK, and it works along the African mountains, the Albertine Rift, and the Great Lakes region. Well, as I didn't get to the name, I think it was Benedict who was sharing about the problems in the mountains. So I work with the organization that I've told you about. I've shared a document that we came up with in the chat. It shows the adaptation solutions that can be used in the mountain areas. But again, to answer your question, just as you said introducing me, I'm a member of the program on ecosystem change and society. This is a group of, it's a network for group of researchers from all over the world. And then I belong to a working group called Decolonizing Conservation. But again, under decolonizing conservation, we have an element of convivial conservation. These are quite different terms altogether. With convivial conservation, if I may say it, is an approach that seeks to combine conservation efforts with the well-being and livelihoods of local communities. It also recognizes the conservation goals that can be achieved more effectively and sustainably when local communities are actively involved, when their needs and aspirations are taken into account. Well, it has, some of the aims of it is to bridge the gap between conservation and human well-being by promoting social justice, empowerment, and collaboration. So it is on that point that now I'll go to your question. If you look at, for instance, if I'm also bringing the other element of whereby one of my honorable colleague was also saying that there is a lot of issues with national parks. Wild animals getting into destroying the crops of the farmers. Well, if you look at the Protected Area Act, which was produced by the British in 1923, you will see that the populations used to live together, live together in harmony with the animals. I don't know if any one of you have seen a video that was going around whereby there were these tourists were in, I think it was Maction Falls. Then there was another person who was riding a border, having things on his border. Yet there were lions.
Definitely, we saw that video. It was yes, quite
so in essence, that is convivial conservation. So we need to live together in harmony with nature. And then in that regard, actually, that's where the convivial element comes in. You live together with nature. Because if you look at how the Maasais have lived together with the lions for centuries, and now the government of Tanzania is coming out to take them away and take their livelihoods and say, basically, if I may draw back, the Protected Area Act, which was produced by the British in 1923, it brought together that people should not live in areas where there are wild animals for hunting purposes and then also for commercial purposes. So in other words, I think I'm mixing up myself here. So because still, if I may draw back to your question, so in this area, we need to have that bit of convivial conservation whereby we have to live in harmony with nature. So people, I mean, destroying the forests, destroying the what, it's just because that people have, I mean, the governments and government stakeholders have taken away areas where they draw their livelihoods from. But if they had allowed them to live in harmony, to live together, probably there couldn't be any way of say tampering with the environment. And if, like, for instance, the municipal councils, like, say, for instance, if you take Kampala district, Kampala City Council Authority, if they also don't cut trees wherever they are going to construct a house or a building, so that they plant trees, then we live together with those trees. There is no way we can, actually, that's one of the areas where we can reduce on the greenhouse gases and also reduce on the effects of climate change. But again, I also urge you to read that document that I've shared with you. It has all the adaptation solutions that can be implemented, and some of the adaptation solutions that have been implemented in some areas in East Africa, for that matter, the six East African countries. So, but still, I'll draw my other bit on if it wasn't for the British and the colonialists who came and came up with the laws, and of which the laws are now being used by people, I mean, by parastatals like UA and so many others. I believe we can still reduce on the temperatures when it comes to climate change. But again, above all, we should also decolonize the concept of all elements that we should keep people away, that if we don't keep people away from such areas, basically people, I mean, the government is not going to get resources. Like if you look at, say, Namamve it has also been cut down. So it has not been cut down by people, but it was cut down because of the policies that the government came up with. But if they had left it intact and taken this, I mean, the people who are constructing factories somewhere, and then they come up with, I mean, they plant trees in where they've put factories, we wouldn't have, rise in climate change. But above all, we should also bring together the concept of convivial conservation. So I don't know if I've communicated well, and I hope I've not made you veer off from the topic. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Joel. You did communicate succinctly well. And maybe just to have a follow-up question with you. And we have been talking about the projected impact of the larger population on the global temperature rise, the sea level rise. You realize that on 4th of July, we recorded the hottest day ever that the world has ever experienced in its existence. Now, does that in any way connect with the very huge population that we have in this world? Because we have recorded the hottest day ever in history. Mr. Joel?
You may find if we use the right projections and the right information in their own way, you may find Africa is still on a good path. Basically, the high temperatures are mainly recorded in the global north, but in the global south, I think we've been very, very okay. Like, for instance, if you take an example whereby Africa only emits, I think, 1 point something to the global temperatures, and yet the rest of the high temperatures are really seen in the global north compared to the global south. And that's why you see now they are coming up with projects like RED+, so that Africa and basically the global south plants more trees, so that now what they are facing will come at least at the end. But I believe if we go with what some of the international organizations are coming up with, and some of the organizations in Africa, the global south are coming up with, I think if we go with that trend of, I don't know if you guys have heard of one tree organization. I think I'm forgetting whereby we're supposed to plant 1 billion trees, I think by the end of 2030. I think if we go by that, I think we are going to reduce on the global warming. But if you look at the way the global north is also facing issues with the increase in the water volumes of that's actually what we call the what did you call it again? Whereby the water has increased in most of the oceans.
The sea level rise.
Yeah,
The
sea
rise in sea
level
level.
rise. Basically, you may find it has also impacted on there was also an impact on Uganda a couple of years ago, whereby the water levels in Lake Victoria and Lake Choga, and also some of along the River Nile, is basically now where the water is coming from. It has many people have destroyed the vegetation, and basically because we are not taking into account of what we need to do. But if we take on what we have to do, I think we would not have lake rise or sea water rise in some of these areas. Basically is to go with what we have to do and not what we are doing at the moment.
Thank you. What we have to do and not what we are doing at the moment. Powerful. So at the moment now, I'll go to Lillian. Lillian, when you listen to the submissions of Mr. Wayo Benedicto and Joel Wako, you get the sense that at the moment we are at the point whereby large populations are greatly affecting resource consumption, are greatly leading to the dire effects of climate change. I now want us to take this conversation to a more scientific point of view, looking at the biodiversity loss. You know that when there is high population increase, definitely human activities such as tree cutting would increase. And we know that tree cutting, fishing, among others. And we are of the view that we have species that live in forests, species that live in water. Now, how does the high population contribute to the loss of biodiversity and destruction of natural habitats? Lillian.
Okay, thank you very much, moderator. Thank you, my colleagues, for submitting. Those have been very powerful points to note. Thank you very much, Mr. Innocent Kiza, Joe Wako, and Boyo Benedicto. Thank you very much. So back to the question, the moderator has pointed to me. Yeah, I had a point on the natural resources before I come to the question he has asked me. So on the natural resources, yes, they exhausted everything about the scarcity of arable land, decline soil fertility. He gave us an example of mountains, Mbale, Karamoja issue running to the sides, coming towards the people who are near the mountains. Yeah, which is very true. Of course, we know that all this effect of population on the natural resources will always lead to the escalating extinction of plant and animal species, making the Earth's resources insufficient to meet the needs of the people. Because the plants and the animals are really affected, as it was mentioned earlier by Joel Wako, whereby the animals are being intruded, their space, their way of living is being intruded, their natural habitat is being intruded, whereby we need to fix ourselves where they're supposed to live. And the plants, the trees, where they're supposed to be, we need to fix ourselves because we need to live, we need to have our houses, as it's part of the Uganda thing. Everyone wants to construct a house here. Everyone wants to own a building. People want to have their own. And people, we have also freedom in the land, whereby when you have your piece of land, you do anything with it, which leads to this effect of the population overwide. So these plants, about the deforestation, when he was talking about the effect on it, when we are looking for a place to stay, when we are looking for what is where to put our industries, where to put our schools, where to put our hospitals, and everything, every infrastructure, of course, we are going to cut down the trees to get the space. Since we are too many, the land is so small for us. Since we are too many, we need to construct those places of convenience, leading to the deforestation. And we do cut down these trees. And when we cut down the trees and we cut down the natural things, it will make us have less. Of course, we know all our oxygen really comes from the trees, the natural resources. We have studied that. The green, we really need the green because the green helps us to breathe. So look at a picture whereby the green has been removed and we are having something dry. We're having only infrastructures which cannot help us. This will lead clearly to the loss of the lives, partly because this will automatically lead to the pandemic and epidemics of the country or in the country, leading to people's deaths. As I look at it, it will lead to people's deaths because when we get pandemics, people will come to hospitals that are complaining that there is a construction somewhere, there is a cutting down of trees. All that will lead to the pollution, whereby it will inconvenience people's lives. So that's part of that's what was part of the natural resources. But when we come to the climate, how its effects on the climate and how it will affect the people. Of course, when it affects the climate, the higher population, we are the same people to suffer the consequences. So when I look at the climate, the more people, the more demand. Of course, the oil, the gas, the coal, everything, we shall need to use all that. Other fuels will be mined from below the Earth's surface. And all this, when it is burned out, it's burned, it's pure, it is pure enough to produce the carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. It traps the air inside the greenhouse. All this will all end up bringing us the global warming of the populations. The greenhouse will be affected. The air we breathe in will be affected. It will rise into diseases we do not know about. It also affects the Earth's ability to withstand climate change and absorb emissions, because we know the mountains, the valleys, all the natural resources we have in our country and all over the world are and help us in many or other things in our day-to-day life. And it also affects the climate because the rain we get, the sunshine, most of them are determined by the water bodies, by the trees, by the mountains, whereby you find people are already occupying the mountains. And when they occupy the mountains, they're cultivating the mountains, bringing me to the point of Mr. Boy, whereby we are experiencing landslides in these places because people are occupying the mountains, and the green in the mountains are no longer mountains because we are occupying them. And by the time we are cultivating them, it will eventually they will become low. The mountains will turn into hills, and I don't know what will come after that. So it will lead to all that. Then also the forest, remember, they help us in the rain, sort of. And when we cut them down, we're going to experience drought. And we are already too many. We have drought. It will lead to mortality, of course. Although we are trying to fight the rise of population, but I don't think we'd love it when it's the drought, like part of the Karamoja bringing the cause of our deaths. Then it will also lead to if we really occupy the water bodies, because we are intruding the water bodies and we need the water so much, we are going to end up, if we cut the trees, we're going to end up with drought. Our water bodies are going to dry up. Yet the climate is fighting the water bodies. With the population, we're also fighting the water bodies. We need the water. We are taking out the water for many other use, industries, domestic, and sort of. And also the climate, because of the drought, we are taking out the water. All this will affect us in any or another way. Pollution, I spoke about that. Then to add on the deforestation, we shall cut off the land to to convert our land into the agriculture, because we need to feed ourselves, we need to eat, but at the same time we are degrading the land, we are making the land lose its fertility, whereby in the nearby future we are going to have high rates of, like, buying the food will be so expensive. It will lead to a high cost of living because the land is no longer producing enough food. We have already used enough of it, and whereby we are going to have a high cost of living, high cost of demand, and our taxes will be so much, which will really affect us, and it also affect the government. Also, the rise of unemployment, whereby if we really use the land. So, yes, please.
I would like to hold you there before we go into that. But thank you for that wonderful and powerful submission, Kiza.
Okay.
When you listen to Lillian's passionate submission, you get the view that the increase in population is something that is still here with us, but it has very devastating impact on people. Now, I want us to look into the aspect of food security. You know that with the increasing population, definitely there is high demand for food, but at times, as we have seen people die in Karamoja because of the region and the drought that they're facing, that leads to the lack of food, because the humans went ahead and carried out deforestation and other practices that are leading to that. So now my question to you is, how can agricultural practices, food production systems be improved to feed a growing population while minimizing environmental harm? All right, I guess Innocent is not here with us. So push that question to, oh yes.
I'm getting you. You muted me.
Oh, sorry.
Hello.
So did you get the question?
You had muted.
Yeah, it's apology.
Come again.
My question to you is, I said, you said at the moment we are facing, the population will keep on increasing, and because of the improved health facilities, among others, the life expectancy, etc. Now, you know that with increase in population, definitely the demand for food is high, and at times we find that the supply is low due to environmental impacts such as drought. Now, my question to you is, how can agricultural practices and food production systems be improved to feed a growing population while minimizing environmental harm?
How can agriculture practice? Come again?
The question is, how can agricultural practices and food production systems be improved to feed a growing population while minimizing environmental harm? Simply, the fact that we're having an increasing population, we still have to produce food. Should we again go ahead and cut more forests to get more land, or we can find more sustainable solutions to combat the aspect of food security, but also reduce environmental harm? Innocent.
Okay, thank you. Hope I got your question well, but let me take you back. You know, the rising population has a significant impact on food security, and we know it well, because when the population grows, of course, there is high demand for food security. But I think we can to overcome this problem. I think the government should come up with improving what we call the agriculture sector practices, such as irrigation, and educating farmers more on sustainable farming practices, to encourage them to adopt sustainable farming practices and help them to increase agricultural productivity while reducing on environmental impact. And such practices we can involve in the agroforestry, like agroforestry, then organic farming, agroforestry, planting crops with trees. Then we can go in organic farming and utilize the farming techniques to reduce soil erosion, and to reduce soil erosion and promoting the biodiversity in a way that now if you look in the areas where agriculture is done on hills, honestly, for example, let me give you the case study like the Renzoris. You see that the Renzoris recently, that is in 2011, there was fire outbreak due to high temperatures. And you find the old vegetation around the snows was, and even the wetland up there. Now in Rwenzori, especially in the district of Kasese and Bundubujo, you find that whenever floods comes, or whenever there is a rainfall up in the mountain there, there is floods affecting the down part or the downstream, because there is no any kind of vegetation that is now holding. At the end of the day, you find they come straight to the downstream and affect the people downtown. So if we increase, or we teach farmers on how they can reduce on soil erosion and how they can adopt new methods of farming like the agroforestry and organic farming, I hope there will be increasing food and the increasing food security and more food to feed the people. Then when we talk about when you look into a crop,
we are losing you.
Crop interbreeding, whereby this new crop is resistant to pests and diseases, and farmers maybe
We're losing you. We're losing you. We can barely hear you.
Yes, I was talking about crop interbreeding.
Okay, Kiza, I am going to mute you.
We do crop interbreeding, like farmers be educated to adopt this new kind of crop varieties on the market.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Kiza. I've gotten the point. We need to go ahead and have organic farming and more sustainable forms of agriculture. Mr. Boy Benedicto, you hinted you wanted to say something, and you kindly have the microphone before I ask you a question. Wayo?
Yes, thank you very much. I just wanted to add on, because agriculture is my also primary area of specialization and interest. When we talk about high population, the population increasing, requiring food and with the required nutrients, we cannot fail also to add on agriculture. Agriculture is also it is a contributor to negative impacts to the environment. So some of the solutions I would look at is sustainable. Yeah, we have talked about sustainable production, but I combine it with sustainable production and consumption. Produce food sustainably and also consume sustainably, because we have seen scenarios where food is produced in plenty, but also at consumption, a point is lost. A lot is prepared and dumped in the environment. So it's sustainable production and consumption combined, so that we score at production and consumption. At production, I also look at, since I'm passionate about sustainability, my friend talked about use of crops that are resistant. Yes, but there are some crops, or there are some crops that are genetically modified. When you weigh their importance vis-a-vis the environment and health, you find that they underscore at the environment and health. They are good, but sometimes they can bring us some problems, like we get cancers due related to GMOs, loss of biodiversity, even loss of our indigenous varieties of species. So I would recommend that in sustainable production, we can go for agroecology. We can also go to sustainable agriculture, sustainable use of fertilizers and agro inputs. Then also so that's my contribution to that.
Thank you.
To that. Thank you.
Thank you for that contribution. But maybe to just ask you another question. You know that with increased population, we have scenarios to do with urbanization. And urbanization is where we set up cities and people leave their villages to come to towns, and that leads to very increased or dense populations in urban areas, which have effects such as pollution, among others. Now, how can we create sustainable cities and infrastructure, Mr. Bwai?
Yes, thank you very much. On sustainable cities and infrastructures, we look at, we need to consider cities needs, first of all, to develop and implement favorable or green or climate smart policies and guidelines that guide the conduct of business in relation to the environment and the development, especially on managing when they are setting up buildings, the buildings that are supposed to be built within the cities need to have green or smart components. Like they should have some green portions, which include some trees. So the planning, the architectural plans of the cities need to be embedded with the environmentally friendly futures. That's one. Then also the policies and frameworks that guide environmental sustainability need to be put in place. Most of them are there, especially for Uganda, but they are not implemented. So we need enforcement to enforce on some of these policies, but challenges come in when we have the government and the technical part. Government is against the technical part implementing certain policies and frameworks. Sometimes the government also lacks some capacity to implement such frameworks and policies. So these policies and frameworks that are related to environment, and also then the other one could be also, we can look at cities having encouraging and having circular economy kind of businesses, which includes recycling, reuse, resizing of products, so that there's limited dumping and pollution of the environment. Okay. Then also these cities need to regulate their populations and also put in place structures that will handle the products of the byproducts from the cities. Like cities need to have proper handling of waste and also control the development, because we have the development and industrialization, because we have seen the industries getting closer to cities. In cities are getting closer to industries, which is a big threat. And most of the industries, like take an example of Namamve towards Kampala there, you see that we have companies that are making water. They are producing water, which is from underground, yet we have a number of industries polluting, dumping their waste in the nearby streams or water bodies around there, and also underground. Underground water is also polluted, affected by the waste from this. So what I would propose is that the cities should make sure that like these industries and companies are a bit away from the cities, are located away from the cities to avoid such problems. Then also consumption should be, consumption of resources should be in a non-organized manner and a sustainable way, so that waste is limited. Like I also talked about reuse and recycling of waste to make other products that can be used by the population in the cities. So that's my submission about cities and population with the environment. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Bayo. That has been a very wonderful submission. Right now, Lillian, I just wanted you briefly to come and tell us how exactly we can control this ever-increasing population. Do you think education and family planning is the way to go? Lillian, briefly.
Okay, thank you, moderator. Thank you, my fellow colleagues, for the submissions. So he has asked me about if the family planning and sort of can really reduce. Yes, I think it can. Yeah, I think we can always we can encourage the health workers, because health workers come into contact with these people, many of them, or all places which hold a number of groups should really talk to the generation, talk to the people about the family planning, or even speaking to them, making these groups, making them join groups, local groups, making groups like how our president brought up the PSA. It really helps us. Like if we can really have other groups, other clubs that can help us really reduce the number of the population. So if we can encourage them to have fewer children and really explain to them the importance, because not everyone will buy your idea, but if we explain to them the importance of having the fewer children, it is for the good of them, their benefit, and also the country's benefit and worldwide. And also we can also encourage them to use the contraceptives, because many mothers out there and even fathers have how I put it in quotes, like a myth about them, maybe, and also other people, also religions also affect the use of our contraceptives. When you tell them to someone and someone is really into his religion, he or she has to urge you and explain to you whatever is happening. But if we try and sit them down and explain to them, I think the taking of contraceptives and other family planning methods which are convenient to each and everybody, because people prefer different methods. So which are convenient, where we can help up the reduction of population. This will also help us, like if we learn and we educate the youth about the sex and about whatever is happening in the country, because the youth are the people of tomorrow. This will also help us to reduce the number of population. This is all about spreading the knowledge and the concern. Spreading the knowledge and the concern about the population, the rising population, telling them about the disasters it causes, telling them about what effect it is to us, to our people, and to the world. And this will really help us out to reduce the population. That's my point of view.
Thank you. Thank you very much, my sister Lillian. That has been a very powerful submission. It's true that education and family planning are mechanisms that we ought to employ to possibly mitigate or reduce on the ever-increasing population. But we also see that there are countries that are complaining that that people should give more birth. If at all you addressed your mind to countries like Japan, people are crying that that the population is not giving birth. So could we also reach that point? But anyway, that's a conversation for another day. Mr. Joel, my question to you is, my question is about sustainable development. How can governments, businesses, individuals ensure sustainable development amidst the increasing population?
Well, I think in that regard, the governments have to, if I may take an example of Uganda, where I've lived for quite a number of years, it needs to plan to, if in case these policies that are made by the government and probably through Parliament, if they are well followed, I'm sure the sustainable, there will be good sustainability for the population for good years. I think we just need, as members of civil society organizations, they need to do policing of what the government policies are, and indeed to follow them up, just in case, for instance, the government falls short. I think civil society organizations, and in this case, the academia as well, they need to take up the mantle and implement some of these activities that. But in that is in case if the civil society organizations and the academia are not selfish, and in this regard, and I mean in this case, if they are not selfish in the case of looking at money, on how much money they are getting in return, I'm sure we can reach a higher level. Say for instance, there are some cities and some countries that have really done it, and I'm sure we can still do it if we work together. Yes, Douglas.
Joe, we can't. You stopped submitting. Is there something wrong?
No. That was my submission.
All right. Thank you very much for that wonderful submission. At the moment, we are reaching to the close of our discussion. So right now, this round, I just want us to. I'll start still with you, Mr. Wako. What are the solutions that we need to possibly come up with to, first of all, combat the increasing population, if there's a possible solution, but also look at offering a sustainable solution that, much as we have the increasing the large population now, how can we, amidst the high population, at the same time develop sustainably, not affecting the environment, but we live in harmony. So this question goes to all the panelists. Offer solutions. What solutions do governments need to employ? What solutions do us as individuals need to employ? Businesses, if they're setting up, what must they do so that we mitigate the impact that it has on our environment? I'll start with you, Mr. Joel. Please unmute.
I still believe, from my introduction, I think all in all that we need to do is embrace convivial conservation, whereby human and non-human can coexist together. And secondly, on a bigger note, is we need to decolonize some of the policies that have been set forth before. And in order to move forward, actually, we need to look at the policies that need decolonizing, so that we decolonize some of the policies, and then we probably go back to the root and implement some of the policies that were used. So, take for instance, we can take the example of the Batwa. How have they lived together with nature for all of these ages? Doesn't mean that we're all going to be like the Batwa, the way they, but at least we can borrow a leaf on how they've lived in harmony, and then in harmony with nature. And then secondly, we need also to coexist with non-human beings in this regard. In this regard, this is, for instance, if I go back to what I had said of the protected areas, people living around the protected areas, there is a need to coexist with the wild, and so that we don't encroach on them. I mean, we don't kill them; they don't kill us. But how do we live in harmony with them? I don't want to go into detail of the document that I've shared, but some of the adaptation solutions can be those ones that are in that book. So I call upon you all to read that book and probably fetch a few of the issues that can work for you in that regard. For instance, those ones who are living in the mountain areas, or those ones trying to promote projects in mountain areas. So that's my submission again, Douglas.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that.
And then probably if anyone of you needs to know much about convivial conservation, please drop me an email, we can discuss. Let me write you an email. I mean, share you my email.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We'll be glad to have this conversation going further. Let me have Ms. Lillian give us possible solutions as a medical practitioner, what we need to do to possibly mitigate the increasing population vis-a-vis having a sustainable environment. Lillian?
Okay, thank you, moderator. On health level, okay, first of all, I'll still keep up with my family planning, about giving birth, because that's where I'm very much based in. So I'll begin with, I think generally or generously, our family planning programs need to be funded, because by the time we need to reach out to these people who are very far in places, or people who don't have, I may have an example of, yes, we still have people in the country who don't have the radios, the TVs, who can't access the smartphones, who can't access the newspapers. So for us to reach out to these people, to these people down there, we need the government or organizations to fund these family planning programs so that we can reach them. Sometimes people are doing something because they have limited knowledge about whatever is happening. So that will need generously funding the family planning programs. Then also we shall need to restrict the child marriages and raising the legal age marriage, that maybe if someone needs to get married, it's maybe supposed to be above 18 years of age. That will also help us to lower the rise of population. Since earlier on I spoke about females who are not educated really go for early marriages, who are below 18, and they don't even have much, or they don't even decide for themselves what is right for them. But if we have, whereby we have restricted child marriages and also raising the legal age marriage council, or we can make that as a law that can also help us reduce the population. Then I think we can also reduce the immigration numbers. The government can look into that, or other organizations all over the world, whereby people coming to the countries should reduce, because if the country already has enough and we're already adding, this is really a disaster to us. Then we can also reduce the consumption of resources. All this is by empowering the people, as it is already spoken about. We can empower the people, speak to the people. You know, it's very hard. People will not change in one day. People will not take it in one day. But I believe in continuous communication and articles and programs to these people in schools, hospitals, places where people are being collected or people gather from. This can help us. People will change slowly, and we shall live in our country, in our world with peace, living with our animals, plants, the evergreen land and evergreen places, and we shall have a better life. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Lillian, for that passionate submission. For now, let me have Mr. Wire Benedicto to give us the solutions that we need to employ. Briefly, sir. Kindly unmute and give us the solutions.
Okay, thank you very much. I submit my solutions as some of them are very simple, but quickly. One is the population is rising and it may not stop rising tomorrow. So what to do is, one of them, especially for Uganda, is to have parents accountable for raising and sustaining their children. If a parent knows that has to pay school fees, health, they should, so if he knows that he's responsible for all those, he will have a fear and control the number of children he will be having. We have seen parents, especially parents, fearing to produce more children because they said these days all children have to go to school. Now you have to work hard. So that motivation because of the responsibility. But earlier on, people just produced children, food was abundant, education was not a priority, but they should be responsible and tasked. So now the other thing is that, yes, we are with a population that is increasing. We are going to promote participatory approaches that especially involve most communities in the areas of conservation, building resilience of communities, because already the problems are there. Now we have to live with them and develop technologies, agroecology, because we have to produce food, so we have to produce sustainably and also consume sustainably. Then all products that are being manufactured or made or produced must conform with the circular economies, whereby they must be recycled and they must be reused. That means each product should be used and should feed into another chain so that there's sustainable production. You make a product that is going to be reused or recycled or used for another product so that there's no pollution, there's limited dumping. So some of those things can help. Then also policies and strategies on conservation, on development should be implemented, and all those accounted, all those held in conflict with such policies should be, the law should work. I think that is my submission on this issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Benedicto. Lastly, let's have Innocent Kiza kindly offer for us solutions that we need to part away with. Innocent Kiza?
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello.
We can hear you.
You're getting me.
Yeah,
Okay,
sure.
that's right. Okay. For me, I think to address these challenges, as my colleagues have highlighted some of the issues, education and awareness is key, because some people, they need to know, some people do wrong when they don't know that it is wrong. So the community need to be educated, and so that they can be able to know what is right and what is not right, and issues concerning sustainable consumption and the importance of biodiversity conservation and all that. Then access to family planning, as my sister, the midwife, said, it's also important. I think we need even to adopt the renewable energy transition. We encourage people to adopt the use of the renewable energy other than destroying the climate, cutting down trees, looking for charcoal and the other stuff. So we need to encourage the community to adopt the use of renewable energy, and then conservation of the ecosystem, protecting of the ecosystem, wetlands, then the marine habitat, and to preserve the biodiversity and the ecology balance of the animals that live in these areas. It is also key to solve the problem of the climate change and the environmental problems. Then we need to educate the community about what causes climate change issues, because some people They are not aware that climate change impact, it is impacting on all of us, whether animals, human beings.
Kiza, we have lost you, but we have gotten the point from you, my brother. And I hope you don't mind if I interfere. So at the moment, we have come to the end of our conversation today. And as we commemorate World Population Day on Kiza,
Hello?
yes, kindly summarize. Then if you.
Okay, let me conclude with the research and innovation. Like the government and the civil society, we need to invest in research and innovation to develop new technologies of sustainable practices and these may be in renewable energy, sustainable agriculture, and water management and climate resilience. Thank you. I submit.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Innocent. I've been Douglas Draconen, your moderator today, and I've been very thrilled and happy that we had a very wonderful and very engaging conversation with you, Mr. Innocent Kiza, Mr. Joel Wako, Miss Lillian, and last but not least, Mr. Boyo Benedicto. Tonight, we are discussing the rising population, effects on nature, on natural resource, climate, and on the planet overall. So that was the topic there and there. And I've really enjoyed tonight's conversation, and join us again next week, same time. We are the Community Show. Thanks to Center for Constitutional Governance for making this possible. Thanks to Civic Space TV for making this possible. And thanks to our wonderful panelists who made time to be with us this afternoon. Thank you and have a good afternoon. Cheers. Take care.